4.6.3 for the function f of x equals x squared plus 2x minus 35. Solve the following. And this from last problem. Alright, so we want to take x squared plus 2x minus 35. That's our function. And we want to solve f of x is less than or equal to 0. Alright, so our first step is we want to find what I refer to as the critical values of this statement, being where it's equal to 0. Okay, so we want to find the zeros of the function. So if x 35 subtract 2, well, that was 7 and 5. And then bigger one gets the plus, minus, to get negative 35. So x equals negative 7, or x equals 5. Now there's 3 ways to do this problem on the test, to solve these problems. In the notes I showed you all 3. I'll show you 2 different ways right now. So one way is to do what we call the sign graph method. So you mark the x-intercepts, if you think of this as y equals, right? So what I was referring to as my critical values. And if for less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, we're going to use solid dots. And for less than, greater than, we're going to use open dots. So let's see, these have the equal to, so that's the solid dots. Then I think of the number line as being split into 3 intervals. We got x could be anything from negative infinity to negative 7. So any numbers less than negative 7. Or x can be any numbers in between negative 7 and 5. Or x can be any number greater than 5. So those are the 3 cases we're going to consider now. So what you do then is you take, so this is called the sign graph method. I'm going to take each factor. So I have x plus 7 and x minus 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to analyze just the sign of this product here, and I'm going to look at each factor individually. So for x plus 7, if I pick a number in this left interval, so like negative 10. So if x was negative 10, when I plug it into x plus 7, negative 10 plus 7 will be negative 3. Now I don't care about the 3 part, I just care that it's negative. So I just write a minus sign there. Then if I do for x minus 5, it would be negative 10 minus 5 would be negative 15. Again, that would be a negative. Now for the product, for the function itself, x plus 7 times x minus 5. What's a negative times a negative? And then I just write POS for positive. Okay. Now if I look at the interval in the middle, I want a number between negative 7 and 5, like 0. So 0 plus 7 would be positive. 0 minus 5 would be negative. And then the product, positive times a negative would be negative. And then now I'm going to look at this last interval, do the same thing. So if I pick a number out here, like 10, 10 plus 7 would be positive, and I don't care about the 17, just positive or negative. 10 minus 5 would be positive, sorry. So, and then a positive times a positive would be positive. Now, if we look at the function we're trying to solve, we want f of x to be less than or equal to 0. So what kind of numbers are less than 0? So we want to know, basically, we want f of f of x to be negative numbers. And that's less than 0, or it could be equal to 0, of course. So that's the solid dots, the equal to part, equal to 0. And then the less than, we want negative numbers, so that's this interval in the middle. So our solution set will be all the numbers between negative 7 and 5, like that. Oh, and then I said I was going to show you one more. So the other method you could do is basically it's the same idea. You find the critical values, or the x-intercepts, basically, and you think of, if you were to graph y equals x squared plus 2x minus 35, you know that's a parabola that opens up. And if the x-intercepts are at negative 7 and positive 5, negative 7, 0, 5, 0, and it's a parabola that's opening up, we know that it's going to do something like this. Now, so the y values, right, that's the f of x, and you want the y values to be less than or equal to 0, so that's below the x-axis, so that's this portion right here. So that's the other way to do it. So you just think about the graph, which is a little quicker if you're good at graphing. So you can do it either way. So let's put in our solutions. So we got the square bracket for negative 7, comma, and we want the square bracket for 5. So 5, closed square bracket.